New construction may seem to be a great option because of all of these incentives that builders are offering to entice you to buy the home, coupled with the fact that it's a brand new home. There could be no problems with it, right? I'm buying new construction. Well, what if I was to tell you that, yeah, that's not the case with these new construction homes? There are some issues with those financial incentives they're offering, and there's also issues with the quality of the home. So in this video, we're going to talk about why you should never buy a new construction home. Most markets in this country are softening, and especially in those markets where we're seeing a lot of new construction, there's a lot of softening going on there. So builders are offering all of these wonderful incentives to buy their homes, and people are kind of getting sucked into them. And like, I get it. People want an affordable home. They're stressing out about the high cost of housing, the mortgage payments, all the things. So when they're seeing that the builder's offering a rate buy down, credit towards closing costs, yeah, they want to take advantage of it. And I understand that. But what if I was to tell you these things are gimmicks?
What?
You need to be careful about signing up with working with the builder's lender. So we're going to go into that today and talk about the quality of the homes. And of course, I'm going to give you some tips to help you avoid any of these mishaps. Because, look, and even though I'm saying here you should never buy one, the reality is you probably will have to buy one. So I'm going to tell you what you need to do to avoid these problems. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the incentives that these builders are offering if you work with their lender. Now, let me start off by saying that do not feel pressure to use the builder's lender. And when I'm saying builders, I'm talking about these big national builders, Lennar, Toll Brothers, D.R. Horton, Ryan Homes, all of those builders. They have their own lenders that they use, and they try to push them on to the consumers to say, if you work with our lender, it's much easier. You'll be able to take advantage of the incentives. Now, typically, with these lenders, the interest rates are higher. They are. So what a lot of people don't realize is that they just go ahead and work directly with the builder's lender, and they don't think to talk to different lenders and get different quotes of interest rates. But the reason why they do this is they offer these incentives to entice people to buy the home. Now, the incentives I'm talking about are the rate buy downs and credit towards closing costs. Emphasize the word credit. Now, what if I was to tell you those credits towards closing costs, you really aren't saving any money? Why? Because those closing cost credits, that's actually baked into the price of the home.
What? No way.
So if you see them offering, $15,000 or $20,000 credit at closing, that $15,000, $20,000 is already baked into the price of the home. It's already inflated. Now let's talk about the rate buy downs. If you're seeing an advertisement, we'll give you a rate of 4.99% or whatever, 5%, whatever it is, they're going to make it look really good, like a lot lower than what the current interest rates are now.
It's a trap.
Be careful with this, because a lot of the times those rate buy downs, they seem all well and good, but what they actually are is they're adjustable rate mortgages, and they're typically a 2-1 ARM loan. Now, an adjustable rate mortgage, you've heard me talk about this before, it's a loan where you're paying a discounted interest rate for the first few years of the loan, and then after that expires, your interest rate is going to adjust to whatever the current market is at that time. Now, I'm not saying all ARM loans are bad, and they're much different now than they were back in 2006, 2007. But the problem with the builder's ARM loans, a lot of them are these 2-1 ARMs, meaning that you're going to have that discounted 4.99 interest rate for only the first 2 years. And then after that, your interest rate is more than likely going to increase. Unless we have some anomaly like we did 5 years ago and rates are going to drop down to like 4%. But let's be real. You're going to be paying more after 2 years. And you're thinking, okay, so what's the problem with that? So here is the problem with those types of loans, the 2-1 ARM loans. You can't refinance to a conventional mortgage after 2 years. This is what people typically do. So say if somebody gets a 7-1 ARM or a 10-1 ARM, where you have the discounted rate for 7 years, 10 years. After 7 to 10 years, you have some equity in the home, and then you can refinance and switch over to a 30-year conventional fixed rate loan. With the 2-1, you really are not going to have any equity in the home yet, and it's going to be very challenging for you to refinance and switch over to a conventional loan. So that is a big problem. So be very careful of that. If they're telling you that the rate is, 5% or less, and, they'll do the rate buy down. Read the fine print. See what kind of a mortgage it is. If it's one of those 2-1 ARM loans, no, I would never do it. I would never buy that house with that kind of a loan. Don't do it, because you're going to be hit with a higher mortgage payment after 2 years, and it's going to affect your affordability. And God forbid, you don't want to be ending up foreclosing on the home because now you can't afford the mortgage payment. So why are builders using these incentives? Well, obviously, because the market is shifting, right? Like as I just said, there's more homes that are becoming available on the market. So now they have to compete. Now they also have to compete with resales, right? Just existing homes. Now more of those are coming on the market. So now they're offering all of these crazy incentives. So be very wary of this. And I just want to share a quick story with you about using the builder's lender versus an outside mortgage lender. So I had friends that bought new construction a couple of years ago. They decided not to use the builder's lender. They just said, no, you know what? We found a different lender, had better interest rate, and that's what they ended up doing. But here's what really saved them. It was the appraisal. Now, typically, when a builder's lender is doing the appraisal, right, they're going to appraise the homes at value because, that's what they're going to do. They're going to appraise them, and it's going to be appraised at the inflated price, right? My friends who use the outside lender did their appraisal, and guess what? Their new construction home under appraised. Why? Because what was happening just at that time, they noticed that the builder started doing price cuts because there was one section of the community where there was a ton of homes that were sitting there. They weren't able to sell these homes. They started doing price reductions. So their outside lender's appraiser caught this and said, you know what? No way. You're totally not at value because these other homes are now being sold or offered to be sold at a lesser price. So they ended up paying, I think it was like $7,000 less than what they originally signed for. They had to pay the appraised value for that. So good on them. Keep that in mind when it comes to using the builder's lender. There's just a lot of stuff going on there. Yeah, I wouldn't be dealing with that. Go talk to an outside lender. Now, of course, let's get into the quality of these homes. I don't mean to laugh, but oh my God, they're so bad. They're so bad. Not every single home, but a majority of them. Now, a while back, I did a video talking about builders such as J.R. Horton, Lennar, Pulte, Toll Brothers, and the stories that came out about the poor quality of these homes. In some cases, you may not see the problems initially right off the bat. When will you see these problems? You're going to see them a couple of years down the road. And that's where a lot of these stories I found that's when the problems started to happen within like the first 5 years of owning the home. And I'm talking framing problems, foundation problems, plumbing, drainage, all that stuff, just horrible, horrible situations for these homeowners. So what do? Hire a home inspector to inspect every phase of the build. You have to do this. Do not rely on the construction manager. No, they're not going to point things out to you. Bring in an independent inspector. For example, there was a homeowner in Texas where the home is built by Pulte, and they noticed that the walls were uneven. Things just didn't seem right, only to come to find out they gutted the house. They went back in and gutted and found out that the home wasn't framed properly. Are you kidding me? Had they had brought in a home inspector during that phase where they just finished the framing, they could have avoided all of these headaches and not be kicked out of their homes so Pulte can go in and redo everything. If you have to buy a new construction home, please pay the money and get an inspector to check it out for you. So a big tip I'm going to share with you right now, and I know you're probably rolling your eyes at me right now, but I really don't care. Hire a real estate agent that knows new construction. You want representation when you're buying a new construction home. Why? Because the salespeople don't really care about you.
Yeah.
Now, if you're concerned about having to pay for a buyer agent commission, I will tell you most builders these days are paying the buyer agent commissions. So you won't have to pay for that. A few years ago, that wasn't the case because when the demand was so high, the builders said to the realtors, forget it, we're not paying you anything. Or they were paying them like, $500 because everybody was flocking to the sales office and they didn't need the realtors. Well, guess what? Now the market is softening. They need the realtors. So now they're willing to pay their commission. You need that representation. I'm telling you right now, because if you go directly with the sales office and you start raising questions, you have concerns, they don't care. Why? They work for the builder. They don't represent you. They don't work for you. Trust me on this. Bring in a real estate agent. And speaking of working with a real estate agent, do you know I offer a free service where I can help you get connected to a realtor in your market, whether you're buying or even selling a home? Scan this QR code here, or you can click the link down below and fill out those forms, and I will get back to you with an agent in your market. Another important tip I want to share with you is if you're considering buying a new construction home and say there's already a phase that was completed and people have moved in and are living there, go talk to those homeowners. Oh, yes. If you see them outside in their yard, or even if you want to go knock on their door, go talk to them, ask them about how their experience was with getting their home built and if they've had any problems since the home was completed and since they've moved in. Get firsthand information from the current owners. There's a wealth of information right there just by talking to existing homeowners in that community. Trust me on that one. So definitely consider doing that. Okay, so would I never buy a new construction home? I'm not saying never. I'm here to educate you, to tell you the things you need to look out for. But, in some cases, it may be worth it to say, you know what? I'm never buying one. I'm going to buy an existing resale home. But again, that's up to you. And I hope you take this information, do with what you will with it, and make an educated decision on whether buying a new construction home is right for you. Thank you so much for watching me today to get your dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker, and I will see you next time.